Steel City. Is everybody ready to go? Let's proclaim the greatest radio show.
Welcome, fans, to another episode of The Spread. I'm your host, Jim Sella, in studio with co-host Jay Dash. We're going to talk some Pittsburgh Steelers football for you. They are not in the Super Bowl, so no, it is not a Super Bowl preview show, but we can preview free agency just a little bit. It's still very early. Like I just said, the Super Bowl hasn't even happened yet. A lot of things are going to change. Some of the free agents that we might talk about right now, teams might not even let those guys get to free agency. They could sign them between now and then, so some of these things could be null and void. But we do know that the Steelers have a bunch of free agents, and they do need to make some decisions on some free agents coming up in the 2017 season.
Believe it. And I can't get on the internet, so it's on you, man.
Everything's always on me when it comes to Steelers.
Yeah. Go ahead.
You're the baseball guy.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to start with a couple defensive free agents. Steve McClendon is a big one. His cap hit was $2.8 million last year. I'm not a big fan of Steve McClendon's, although I think he did play very well this year, especially compared to some of the other seasons. There's not really a whole lot of guys out there. Dash, me and you were talking about it. You have maybe Terrence Knighton, a B.J. Raji, somebody like that in free agency. None of those guys are really enough of an upside over McClendon to warrant paying the more money that they're going to command.
Right.
So I think the Steelers, they could probably bring McClendon around at $2.8 million again. Anywhere, between 2 and 4, I think, is a fair price for a guy who started. He is 30 years old, so they're not going to give him a big long-term deal. But you're certainly not going to give a deal to Cam Thomas, the other Steeler D lineman who's a free agent. He made $2.5 million last year. He's not getting anything. They're definitely not bringing that guy back. If they bring him back, Kevin Colbert needs to be fired.
Yeah, I wouldn't think so. That was a terrible signing to begin with.
What do you think the chances are? And again, this is all, dependent on what happens. If a D tackle falls to Pittsburgh at their number 1 pick at 25, would you take somebody who could be something like a Casey Hampton was?
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking right now. I really don't think they're going to do the corner in the first round again. And if you look offensively, they really don't need anything in the first round.
Correct.
So I'm thinking D tackle is the way to go at this point.
The one wrinkle that I could say offensively is maybe they don't sign Beachum because there's a left tackle that they like in the draft that they wouldn't even let anybody know this, because it's hard to get a good left tackle. It's hard to get a top tier left tackle, I guess I should say, at the 25 pick. You're not going to get the first, second, or third best left tackle.
Yeah, or they could not even sign Beachum and not worry about a pick early in the draft as well and just go with what they got. Maybe take a pick in the 4th round or something as a lineman and use him as just a backup. They
still have Villanueva, and a lot of places are saying that Mike Adams is a free agent. I read that he's not. I'm not saying I'm 100% sure. I'm sure of what I read. It said that since he was on the physically unable to perform list last season for the whole season, it doesn't count as a vested year for him. So that was technically his last year of his contract. So now he'll actually have to play this year in 2016 for him to become a free agent.
Right.
Another guy on defense, 2 big guys, really a couple defensive backs. You got Willie Gay is going to be a free agent, Robert Golden, Antoine Blake, and Brandon Boykin, and Will Allen. Ross Cockrell, they've already brought back. He was a exclusive rights free agent. He pretty much, exclusive rights means you sign the deal they offer you. Never does exclusive rights guys not sign it. Willie Gay counted 1.66, Golden 1.54, Blake counted 1.54, Boykin 1.54, and Allen only $665,000 against our cap last year. Willie Gay, I'm bringing him back. He's not going to command top dollar anyway. I think he'd want to come back to Pittsburgh. I'm not saying he's a top flight guy, but you can't lose that many corners that know your system and think you can just plug a bunch of new guys in and they know the system. The biggest problem we had, according to the coaching staff, with Brandon Boykin was he couldn't learn the plays right away, and then they started saying other BS. But it's a tough defense to learn, so you got to bring some of these guys back, and it can't be Blake. Blake missed more tackles than anybody as a cornerback last year and gave up more yards than any other corner last year. Why would you bring that guy back?
Yeah, I don't think they're going to, but you definitely got to do something here. You got to sign a couple, you got to draft a couple, you got to see what's happening with Senquez, Golston. Yeah. There's a lot of questions here still. You're going to have to sign a couple of these guys, though. You can't go into the draft and draft 4 corners and hope they turn out to be your 4 corners you're going to use this season. You got Cockrell, Mike Mitchell, and who else? There's one other guy I thought. Cockrell, Mike Mitchell, and someone else? Or am I wrong? Is that it right now?
That's it. Starters.
Yeah,
Because Allen's gone, Boykin's gone, and Blake is gone.
Really, I'd like to see him sign Will Allen, too, for another season. He played pretty well last season. I know he's old or whatever, but I'm just trying to get a season out of him at this point.
We'll get into that here in a little bit, too, about the other safeties that are free agents. There's not, outside of Eric Berry and Eric Weddle, who the Steelers will not get, there's not a lot much better than Will Allen, and he played for a good cap hit, and he played very well.
Who would I bring back? I'd bring back Willie Gay and Brandon Boykin, definitely. I'd bring back those two, see what Golson has. There's 3 there. You already got Cockle. That's a 4th. So there's 4 corners you can go with right there, and maybe draft a corner, and that's your 5.
I was going to say the exact same thing, quite honestly. You know what you got in Gay. Boykin played well down the stretch. You could play either one of those guys inside or outside. Cockrell, I don't know. He definitely was better than Blake. So I'd rather bring him back than Blake. They obviously already signed Cockrell, but I let Blake completely go, and I try to bring back Will Allen again, maybe for that league minimum like last year, 1 year. They have Clifton Gaithers, Terrence Garvin, and Anthony Chicklow, who are also free agents. Garvin is a restricted free agent. Chicklow is an exclusive right, so he'll be back.
Yeah, Chicklow made some plays on special teams this season. I would like to bring him back as well.
What about Shamarko? Any chance that he moves up and plays safety next year?
I don't think so. I think he's, as a backup, I think he can move into a role where he plays a little bit more, but he's not going to be a starter. I just don't think this guy's going to be a starting safety in the NFL.
Now, it's interesting to me that Golden made $1.54 last year and Will Allen only got $665,000. Do you bring Golden back as a backup to Will Allen and pay Will Allen less than Golden again? Is that acceptable?
You got to look at Will Allen's age, too. He wants to play for he wanted to play for the league minimum to play for the Steelers this year. We'll have to see if he wants to do it again this year. But you can't say, hey, we're not paying Will Allen, so let's go get a safety that we're also not going to pay. If you got to pay more, you got to pay more. That's just the way it is. You don't want to get a worse safety just because your other guy makes less money.
D'Angelo Williams makes more money than Le'Veon Bell.
Yeah, it's the way it goes.
It was rookie contracts. But that's pretty much it for defensive free agents. Offensively, you got a couple key players, especially on the O-line. You got Ramon Foster and you got Kelvin Beachum. Beachum tore the ACL early in the year, so he didn't play. Villanueva filled in pretty good for him. Foster's a really good guard, but he's 30 years old. He counted $2.15 million against the cap. That's a pretty solid number. It's around league average for guards, especially starters. It's not in the top 15, I don't think, for starters, though, but it's around average. Beachum, Villanueva, I think, is the biggest question mark as far as the offensive line goes. Do you bring Beachum back? Can Villanueva play as well as he did last year? Some people say he played well. Some people say he didn't play well. I thought he played well for only being his second year.
He made some mistakes, yeah, but, I thought he played pretty well. But I'd really like to bring Beachum back so you have that extra guy. And the way Beachum went down, maybe he doesn't make as much money as we expected him to this coming season. So maybe you can get him a little bit cheaper and bring that guy back and have a pretty good depth at the offensive line, which I'd love to have going into next season because they play great this year.
Beachum made just a shade over $1.5 million. If you can bring him in as an upgrade, maybe like 3.5 this year, I guess possibly even as high as 4. I hear some people saying they want to franchise him. I think that's a big mistake. If you're going to franchise Beachum, it's going to cost a lot of money. The average, I counted in the top 10, you're going to be around $10 million a year. And you can't go from paying your guy 1.5 to 10 million. We don't have the cap space to handle that. So franchising him, I think, is out of the question. Now, maybe you franchise him to hold on to him and work on a long-term deal, but then that's risky. What if you don't get the long-term deal done and you're stuck with Beachum for $10 million for one season?
Yeah, I guess you could look at it that way. You could also look at it as you're going to franchise someone, so you just do it. If he's the best option at this point, you just do it. You know what I mean? You overpay sometimes.
They don't always franchise somebody. The Steelers are one of the few teams that will go without using the franchise tag some years.
Really? I don't remember that happening. Did they do it last year? They didn't.
There was nobody who was franchised. They used a transition tag on somebody, and then he got signed.
I don't like the franchise tag to begin with. You're automatically making a ton of money.
I think, if anything, they're going to wait and use that franchise tag on Le'Veon Bell if they would need to after the 2016 season when he becomes a free agent, because it'll be hard to pay Bell and Brown at the same time, long-term, work a deal out. I think one of those two could end up being franchised, and the fact that Brown has 2 years left, it would obviously become Bell would be the one who would use the tag. And they can use it year to year, so it's not like they couldn't use it next year if they use it this year. I just don't think they're going to want to pay somebody that much money. They only have a shade over $6 million in cap space right now, and that's before they do a lot of restructurings. Players like Lawrence Timmons, David DeCastro will be re-signed. So a lot of things will happen. You only need around $6 or $7 million to sign your draft class. So as long as you have that free, we'll be good as far as the draft goes, and we'll be able to work some of these other guys in here. But some of the other guys on offense, you got Will Johnson. He's 27. He made $1.5 million last year. I don't think they bring him back. Roosevelt Nix re-signed. Do you carry two fullbacks? I know Johnson is kind of a backup tight end too, but
yeah, Will Johnson's definitely the better fullback in my opinion. He's used a little bit in the passing game. You don't really see too many fullbacks out of the what's his name in Oakland there?
Oh, I forget his name.
Yeah, he's a pretty good running back. He gets carries and he gets used in the passing game. Will Johnson gets used in the passing game a little bit, so I do like him, but I'm never carrying two fullbacks, no.
Long snapper Greg Warren, do you bring him back? He's 34. He made a little over $600,000.
Yeah, I
bring him back another 1 year deal.
Why not? You need a long snapper, so you're going to spend that money somewhere. He did all right.
Now you have, with the emergence, according to most people, and we disagree on this slightly, of Sammy Coates, do you bring Darius Hayward-Bay back? He's 28. He played for veteran minimum at $665,000 last year as far as a cap hit goes. I think he had some roster bonuses or something that he could have gotten. I don't know if Pittsburgh brings him back. The thing that he does bring to the team is great special teams play. He's a leader in the locker room. I know a lot of the players like him. He is cheap, but is he going to want to accept the fact that he'll probably be the fifth wide receiver next year as being you got Brown, Wheaton, Bryant, Coates?
I think he'll accept whatever. You pay him, he'll accept it, man. I don't think this is a guy that feels like he has to start anymore. And really, he doesn't even need to play, in my opinion. He'll take whatever money he can get at this point in his career, I'd have to believe.
You don't think another team will offer him,
I'm not saying,
like maybe $1.5 million to be like a third receiver?
It's possible. Who knows?
He had a decent year when he played this year. I know he didn't play a whole lot, but he played well when he did.
I mean, you got to have a quarterback that can throw a good deep ball because that's pretty much what Hayward-Bay is, you know what I mean?
Right.
So you don't want to be like the Minnesota Vikings, go grab Mike Wallace for no reason when Teddy Bridgewater can't get him the ball, you know what I mean?
And pay Wallace tens of millions of dollars.
Yeah, but obviously we know the four top wide receivers at this point, but it all depends. Are they going to go out and draft a receiver later in this draft, 5th round, something like that? If they do, then no, you don't want Hayward-Bay. But maybe you just stay away from receiver in the draft this year and sign Hayward-Bay to a cheap contract.
I was just going to say the same thing. I mean, I know the Steelers hit on late-round wide receivers a lot, and Marcus Wheaton does become a free agent after the 2016 season, but it's hard to look ahead like that, and Wheaton's not a good enough caliber player to really worry about that. I'm not saying you don't try to re-sign him or whatnot, but if your third receiver is going to be a free agent, Sammy Coates could probably step into that role after having a full season of play under his belt. So I agree.
He is definitely not a slot guy. I said Marcus Wheaton isn't a slot. Sammy Coates is definitely not a slot guy. That's the problem.
Right. I mean, you could see maybe with, not that Brown's slowing down or anything, but as Brown ages, maybe he'll be more willing to just move into the slot, change your offense around a little bit, and run.
I think you can get him the ball more out of the slot.
It's all about the offense. And in Haley's offense, I mean, who knows? But with Ben Roethlisberger at the helm, we know he just loves to chuck at the Brown regardless. Another wide receiver, David Nelson's a free agent. I don't think anybody really cares.
I think Arizona has a good receiver named David Nelson, don't they?
Maybe. Something Nelson. He's better than ours.
J.J. Nelson. Eddie B.
J.J.
Tell me.
Loves it. What about Doug Legursky?
Doug Legursky?
He's only here because Pouncey got hurt.
Yeah, I was going to say, if Pouncey's healthy, who knows, maybe by first game next season, Pouncey's done for the season, you might need Legursky, but, I mean, you have two good centers, in my opinion.
Jordan Todman, do you bring him back to camp?
Definitely.
$585,000 against the cap last year. I thought he played well. They seem to like Fitzgerald Toussaint a little bit more, though. And you still have Le'Veon and D'Angelo locked up for at least one more year.
I at least bring him to camp unless somebody seen enough out of Todman in that, what game was it? The the divisional game.
Yeah.
No. It was the wild card round.
Oh, I forgot we played 2 rounds.
Yes. But yeah, he looked pretty good in that wild card round, and really, I talked Todman up a lot this season. I think he's a pretty good running back, so maybe somebody else gives him a chance or whatever. But if I have the opportunity, I'm bringing him in to battle with Toussaint for that 3rd running back spot.
I agree. He's young. He's cheap. It wouldn't cost a lot if you brought him into camp and then let him go afterwards. It probably cost you, $200,000 or something. So I think you bring him in. He knows the offense. The players seem to like him. Unless you draft somebody that you feel could be better than him, you're not going to go sign somebody in free agency. It's just not.
And the fact you have Bell and Williams, there's no reason to draft a running back this season.
Yeah, you're going to have a lot of money locked up in that position after
running back's not a position you want to draft and let sit for a season. You know what I mean? Running back's a guy that when you draft him, you better be playing him because he's only going to last a few years most likely.
Any chance they bring Vic back?
Probably not, but I tell you what, man, the way their cap's set up, they really don't have the money to go spend on a good backup quarterback, so you got to go with the cheaper guys, and I mean, who knows? Maybe he's the best available for the price they're willing to pay.
Well, Landry's still under contract for 1 year, so if anything, they could just roll with him. Bruce Gradkowski is still an option. I know he's been hurt a lot recently.
That's a guy I wouldn't mind.
I mean, they could just bring him back and pay him and Landry to back up.
But he makes some money, doesn't he?
Yeah, he made 1.83 against the cap last year.
See, I don't know if they're going to want to do that with a backup quarterback.
It's tough, considering your starting quarterback's making $23 million.
Yeah.
They could cut Landry Jones because he'd only count about $100,000 against the cap if they cut him and then draft somebody late so that they clear his, almost $1 million off the books and then pay Bruce and then have, a jabroni 3rd quarterback. But that's scary because Gradkowski gets hurt more than anybody.
Yeah, but I mean, it's no different than this season. Really, when Ben went down, there was not really a good option to have.
It's tough. When you lose your starting quarterback, apparently only the Bengals can still win.
I mean, good defense helps. I mean, the Steelers still won without Ben.
I know.
So, I mean, whatever.
Couple linemen and a tight end. You got Byron Stingley. Nobody cares about him. Rob Blanchflower is an exclusive rights free agent, and Mitchell Van Dyke is also an exclusive rights free agent, so they'll most likely be back with the team. Other than that, that's all the Steelers' free agents. Like we said earlier, they got about $6 million left under the cap. The Steelers do spend the most money on the inside linebacker position in the NFL. We talked about Timmons just a couple minutes ago. He's due to make $15 million this year. If we cut him, it'll cost us just over $6 million, but there's no way they cut him. He's only 28 years old. He was 12th in the league in tackles this year. He actually did end up with one more tackle than Luke Kuechly, although we both know that Kuechly missed some time from concussion issues. The last deal Timmons signed was a 5-year, $47 million deal. I think they could extend it 3 more years. He's 28 years old. If you can extend his contract 3 years, take some of that $15 million that he's already going to get. If you give him $30 million, 3 years, extend it $30 million, you can make it a pretty reasonable cap hit for the next couple years. And a lot of times when guys are getting older, teams don't expect them to play in the last year of their contract. So you'll see that last year be a lower amount and a lower cap hit because they know they can just cut them in that last season. So they could clear a little bit of room this year, put the most money in the 2 middle years, and then that 3rd year you lower it down, give him a lower cap hit, and maybe cut him then.
How's there 2 middle years when there's a 3-year deal?
Because he still has this year left, so you're extending it 1 more year.
So you want him for 4 years?
It would be 4 more years technically,
okay, I see
but you're
saying.
cutting him in the last year, so you're only really it's in your mind, it's going to be a 3-year deal.
They don't do that too much. Give that next contract to linebackers, though. I tell you that.
Yeah, but only 28 years old.
I get it.
Not really
having a lot of good linebackers go around this time.
They don't have. Vince Williams, unless they re-sign Sean Spence, is the only guy that
or you
could
see
step
him
into
drafting one in the first round like they always do.
Good
man.
Lord, they can't do that again.
I love
a lot of our linebackers, but they just can't do it. I think they re-sign or extend Timmons.
I think they will too. I don't know if it's going to be for a extra 3 years though. For 4 more years, I don't know, man.
They kept Ferrier way longer than we all thought they would. We kept saying that he should be gone, and they just kept holding on to him, and he had a couple good years late.
Yeah.
David DeCastro is another guy who could look to be restructured, re-signed, however you want to look at it. He's in the last year of his deal. He's due to make $8 million this year. He was the 31st highest paid guard in football. Do you think there are 30 guards that are better than David DeCastro? Hell no.
That's the thing. If you restructure, it's not going to get down by too much this year, even if you do, I would think. I mean, wouldn't he be making about $8 million?
The way I was looking at it,
that's his rookie deal, right?
This is the last year of his rookie deal, yeah. So if they re-signed him, it would probably be a backloaded deal. I was looking at a lot of the guards, the top 10 guards, and their deals the first year or two kept them between 6 and 8 million. So maybe they can drop them down to like 6 million this year and maybe 8 million next year. And what they're just trying to do is save a little bit of money this year, and they have a lot of free agents next year. We've lost a lot of dead cap, so they're going to have a lot more money to work with in the 2017 cap year, especially with it rising about $10 million each year. So they're going to do a long-term deal regardless. It's really just how low they can get that first year or two under the cap. And can they give them a big salary bonus too? That's usually what they do with younger players coming into their second contract. You give them that big bonus, and then it doesn't all count against the cap early on. And then it usually gets restructured within a year.
It'd also be nice not to do it, though, and sign him for that $6 million for first year for next season as well, and even have more money. If you could do it. I mean, you always want to have more money in the future if you can.
Right. We'll see. They'll see. I mean, they're going to get him. If they let him
I'm
go,
sure they're going to re-sign him, but
are
they going to re-sign him this season or just wait a season and then re-sign him? Usually they do re-sign people when they have 1 year left on their contract, though.
Yeah, they don't like to let a lot of their big-name players make it to actual free agency. A guy a lot of the fans are clamoring to be cut is Marquise Pouncey. He signed a 5-year deal in 2014. He only played one game the season before he signed that deal. He played all 16 in 2014, but none this year. So he has played in 17 games in the last 3 years.
It's rough.
His contract jumps from $4.2 million cap hit this year, the 2015 season, to a $10.5 million cap hit for the 2016 season. He has a roster bonus of $3.5 million that's due on March 13th of this season. So if the Steelers were to cut him, which I don't think they will, I really don't think there's a chance in hell that you cut him, that's when it'll happen before then, before he gets that roster bonus. A restructuring can happen at any time. They could turn the roster bonus into, I forget how they do it. Somehow they turn the bonus into something and then it doesn't count against the cap, but he still gets it. It's really weird. But Pouncey, to me, is still a top 3 center in the league. And I know Cody Wallace played well this year, but he's not a top 3 center in the league. So I don't think that you cut Pouncey, especially since you just signed him to that deal. It doesn't make cap sense to do that.
Yeah, what would it cost them on the cap if they cut him?
Almost his full salary for this season.
Really?
Yeah, the way it's structured, it would cost us like $9 million. So you really wouldn't even save anything this year. It would be in the future years where you would
save money. I would say I'd actually think about it because I know he's better than Cody Wallace, but Cody Wallace got it done this season without Pouncey. Although, I mean, once Pouncey's in, it's going to be so much of an upgrade. But still, if you could have taken, let's say you cut him and it only cost you $2 million, you save $8 million, you could go out there and sign a big-time free agent just by doing that. But no, I'd keep Pouncey.
No, he's only going to be 29 in the last year of his deal, and his cap hit that year is only $8 million. So there is a chance that maybe they say, hey, why don't we push some of this year's money to that year? I mean, basically, so that you'd only be paying him 8 this year and then 10 that season. Because at 29, I mean, if he stays healthy, and that's an if for anybody, and I know he's had some injury issues, but a 29-year-old center is still an effective center. You know, it's not like you're hitting the wall. You see good centers play until they're 33, 34 sometimes. And Pouncey is in great shape. He just has unfortunate injuries that keep happening to him. One of them, his own player freaking took him out. So, I mean, it's kind of just really bad luck.
Yeah, but you got to stay on the field or this contract just sucks.
Oh, I mean, that's the truth for anybody, but I mean, I hear you. But I don't consider cutting him at all, at least this season. I mean, I understand the injury issues, but I give him a little bit of leeway because of the type of injuries. What about Heath Miller? Any chance you would cut him? He's 33 years old, and he's due to cost the team $7 million this season. He did restructure right before the season last year to get the deal the way he wanted for his last 2 seasons. If we cut him, it would only cost us around $3 million for the year instead of the $7 million.
I'd ask him to retire.
I forget how it goes. You still pay them, but I think they pay you back some of bonus money when you retire. Like, I think you still owe them base salary if
I don't
that's
think
what
it goes
was.
against the cap, though.
I don't know if it does or not.
It can't, because, I mean, if you sign me to 5 years, $100 million, and I say I'm retiring, you're screwed. You know what I mean?
Oh, I understand that. Troy Polamalu retired, though, and he still counted against our dead cap last year.
How much did he cost?
$4 million, I think.
Really?
Yeah. I mean,
See,
it
that
wasn't
makes
his
no
whole
sense.
salary. I think it might have been half. Maybe it's half of your salary counts.
Still should not be like that. Because you could screw a team over, literally.
Right. But when you, like you said, if you sign that deal and then retire, you have to pay all that bonus money back. Like, teams
Right.
make you give that, which is where you get the most of your money. That's why players wouldn't do that. But do you believe in Jesse James enough to be the starter next year? Because I do not.
I think if they brought in a good blocking tight end and mixed them in with Jesse James as the pass catching tight end, I think they could get by with it. I'd rather have Heath Miller, but that's a lot of money. If you can go out there and maybe bring in another tight end to help you and to get good playing time, I mean, I think you can get by with it. I think this offense is pretty deep, and just the loss of Heath Miller down to Jesse James isn't a big enough drop-off where it's going to screw your offense over.
If Heath would play for the $4 million in 2016 that he played for in 2015, would you keep him?
Yeah, I mean, I'd keep him at the $7 million if he wanted to play. What are you going to do? I mean, he's your best tight end right now. You got to do what you got to do. But yeah, definitely. But why would he take less money if he's going to retire after this season? There's no reason to take less money just to help your team out. I mean, at some point you got to think about yourself.
I feel you. If anybody would do it, I think Heath would do it. I mean, he's the most humble,
I don't think it's
quietest
fair
guy.
for him to do it. I think he should just get his money and roll.
You know they'll ask him.
Oh, I'm sure they'll ask him.
I hear they're asking Ben Roethlisberger to restructure the deal that he just signed. Cortez Allen, any chance he's back?
No.
They asked Tomlin, are you confident that Allen could still be a difference maker in our defense? His response is, I'm not. We'll see. Cortez is still due $17 million overall on the deal. I do not expect him to see it. He signed the 4-year, $24 million deal. His cap hits 5.75 this year. If we cut him, it's still costing us $4 this year, but then afterwards, we're done with it. And I know technically then you're really only saving 1 year because he played 2 of those 4 years already, but you got to get rid of this guy. Well, he got paid for 2 of those 4 years already. Just, you got to get rid of him. What did he play? The first game, that was it, right? And then he went on IR. And I think he might have only played about 20 snaps in that game.
Yeah, I don't even think he didn't start, did he?
He lost his job to 2 guys who were cut by their teams, and he was given a big contract. So there's no way.
And you remember that first game. Ugh.
It was brutal. Sean Sweesom, due to make $3.5 million next year. Boswell's only due to make about $500,000.
Believe it, Boswell, you never cut that guy. He's going to be our kicker when he's 40 years old.
Sweesom would cost us 1.7 if we cut him. I think there is a chance that you could maybe deal him for a 7th round pick if somebody needs a kicker, maybe a 6th round pick.
Yeah, you never know.
The opportunity's there.
Somebody will do it. I mean, you could definitely do it, I'm going to say, because there is not 30 good kickers in the NFL, and Sean Sweesom showed he can be. Sean Sweesom showed he could be a good kicker.
You just got to wonder, is anybody going to want to take on the contract that the Steelers gave him? You know what I mean? Are they going to want to trade for a kicker that's going to cost $3.5 million?
There's always a team that needs a kicker by the time the season rolls around.
Believe it. Landry Jones, cut him, keep him. $784,000 this year.
I mean, we're going to have to see what they can do at backup quarterback. I mean, it may be you have to keep him. There's not too many great backup quarterbacks out there, and if you want a good backup quarterback, you still got to spend a little bit more money. And that, like I said before, I don't think they have the money to do something like that.
Well, a couple of players that aren't free agents this year, but will be after the 2016 season that we could maybe look to re-sign, restructure, however you want to consider it. We already talked about Timmons and Heath Miller. What about Jarvis Jones? He's in the last year of his deal. Do you try to work out a deal with him for a year or two?
No, I wait. I wait on him for sure. We've seen he played pretty well in the playoffs here. Outside of that, he's been a letdown. So I want to see him go out and play well next year. I'm not giving him any more time on a contract.
Do you give Le'Veon a deal before the 2016 season starts?
He has 1 year left.
Yeah, 2016 will be his last year.
And how much is he making?
He'll make $1 million that year.
It's hard to...
You know he's going to command around the same thing DeMarco Murray got.
That's what I'm saying. So you got to let him play out this season. You got to let it go cheap this season, and then if you want him, you sign him big. You don't sign... I mean, if you're re-signing him, you're going to sign him big now.
If they re-sign him big now, I'm sure, at least for the cap hit, though, they could give him bonus money this year where it didn't count against the cap. It would go up a little.
It's still real money. You don't want to give away real money either.
Hey, all these NFL teams have a lot of freaking money, so if they want to win, they got to give it somewhere.
But when you're rich, man, you still don't want to give away money. That's why they're rich.
Believe it. What about Marcus Wheaton? Let him go or sign him?
1 year left.
It'll be, yeah.
No, I'm going to let it go.
Oh, one thing, I'm sorry, real quick about Le'Veon Bell that I forgot to mention. Everybody, maybe not everybody, a lot of people are blaming Fitz-Toussaint for the playoff loss, the fumble. Le'Veon Bell has one fumble in his career at 844 combined touches between passing and running. I just...
Yeah, but here's the thing. You never know, man. You came out to me and said, look, Larry Fitzgerald, 24 drops in his career. Dude was dropping the ball left and right in that playoff game.
Please believe.
It's ridiculous.
It's just one of Le'Veon's finest qualities, and I forgot to mention it. But Wheaton, you're letting him go through to Fitz-Toussaint, Vince Williams?
No, I'm not going to re-sign it.
What about Boswell? He's an exclusive rights free agent, $480,000, so that's pretty much what he'll get paid again if we re-sign him. Do you give him the 3-year deal at around $600,000 a year since you're going to get rid of Sweesom, or do you just give him that 1-year deal again?
I'd probably just let it play out. You'll be able to re-sign him after the season. It's not like people are going to be coming kicking down your door for him or anything.
I think he'd only be a restricted free agent afterwards, right? After a third season anyway? Because it'll be his second season after this year, and if you only had him for one more year, because it's different with undrafted than drafted. But I think, you'd still, it's almost like baseball and arbitration where you kind of own their rights for the first couple years. I think we could get another 2 or 3 years out of Boswell before we'd have to actually give him a long-term deal.
Right.
What about Villanueva? You still want to see one more year?
I don't know. What's he making?
$480,000.
You could probably still sign him pretty cheap. I don't know. You'd have to give him a little bit more money. He'd be making more money. I'd probably let it play out, but that could screw you in the end. If he ends up starting and having a good season, that could screw you. So it could be a good idea to go out and re-sign him now, and if he ends up as a backup, that's fine because he's not going to command a ton of money right now.
If you don't sign Beachum, maybe you give him a 3-year deal worth $9 million or something with, you know what I mean, like a bonus. And then you could have a great tackle really cheap like you ended up with Beachum, or you could have a backup who's really not costing you too much money who's pretty good. But I don't think that Beachum and Villanueva would get a contract in the same year. I think if Beachum gets it, they would wait to see how Villanueva did. We don't know about Marcus Gilbert. He played great this year, but he didn't play great any of the other years. He played serviceable. So, I mean, there could still be a need. And like we always say, injuries happen everywhere. We were a prime example of the Steelers this year. Our whole entire offense got shredded. Real quick, I just got a couple questions about a few free agents. I'm not getting into too many other teams' free agents because, like we said, we don't really know how that's all going to turn out.
And we're 35 minutes deep.
Believe it. Sean Smith is the corner in free agency that I think the Steelers could target. The biggest name corner, I guess I should say. In the last 2 seasons, he's finished 11th and 12th in cover snaps per reception. The guy's 6'3", he's 218 pounds. He only missed 2 tackles last year and only allowed 126 yards after the catch. Imagine if Blake only missed 2 tackles last year, how many less yards the Steelers defense would have given up. Now, this guy is going to be a high priority for the Chiefs, so I doubt that he's going to get lured away. He was a $7 million cap hit last year, which is a lot of money. The Steelers probably not going to pay somebody that high, and it's not going to go down much because he's been playing better as he gets older. So it's kind of a stretch. But if they would sign a bigger name corner, I think that's the guy that they could look at.
Not going to happen.
Yeah. People were talking about Eric Weddle. He made $10 million the last 2 seasons from San Diego. I don't know.
I think I did hear something, though, where he is going to make less money.
Oh, yeah, he'll make less money because he's 31 years old, but he's still less money is still $6 or $7 million. It's not going to be like he's going to be playing for Will Allen money or anything. Eric Berry is another guy that some people mentioned. That's a joke. If you think the Chiefs are letting Eric Berry go, you're an idiot. The only reason they didn't re-sign him is because the dude had cancer or leukemia or something. They got to make sure he could still play. Long shot, Prince Umukakura. How do you say that dude's name?
Amukamara.
I don't know. He's been a guy who hasn't been able to stay healthy, so he's a big, giant red flag when it comes to that. He's still really young. He's playing at a Pro Bowl caliber level this year. He didn't give up a single touchdown in pass coverage, and quarterbacks only had a 58.2 rating when throwing his way. He missed 0 tackles, but he only played in 8 games. So, maybe. He was probably the Giants' best defensive back when he played.
Landon Collins didn't have too bad of a season.
Janoris Jenkins, I guess, could be another possibility for the Steelers, but I don't think the Rams are going to let him get away. He was a second-round pick. He's solid against the run. He doesn't give up a lot of big plays. Only cost, I think, $1.5 million last year against the cap. But that was his rookie deal, so he's going to be looking for a pay increase this year, and they're not going to cash in on big name free agents, and that's why we didn't spend a lot of time talking about it.
It's going to be after Cortez Allen is completely off the books.
Right. So once we move forward and we see what the Steelers are going to do by re-signing some of their own players and everything, we'll talk about some more potential free agents. And really, once the big name guys go is when the Steelers will be starting to sign guys anyway. So once we get those off the books, we'll see who's left. We'll give you another episode. But that's all I got, Dash. You got anything else for the fans?
I still can't get on the internet.
Gotta love the internet. I'm on the internet. For once, I'm on it, and you're not.
What do you mean for once? What the hell are you talking about?
I can never get on the internet on my computer. Bogus. Anyway, that's it, fans. Sadly, we are not playing on Super Bowl Sunday, but the one thing you got to look forward to is the spread each and every week.
And Brady's not playing.
And Brady's not playing. So that's always a bonus. No more Super Bowls for you, Brady. Who do you want to win, Forehead or Cam Newton?
I'd like to see Peyton Manning win. I know I'd like Carolina more as a team, but I'd like to see Peyton Manning win one more before he heads out.
Get that monkey off his back. Poor bastard.
What monkey?
Well, that Eli has 2 and he only has 1.
I don't think that's a big deal.
Right. You don't think that bothers Peyton?
Well, I mean, Eli Manning has a lot more time to just win another Super Bowl anyway.
Oh, I know, but it doesn't matter. Peyton has always been better than Eli. He's always won more than Eli. He always did everything better than Eli. And Eli has to... If I had a brother who had 2 Super Bowls and I had 1, I'd hate him. I wouldn't even talk to him until I had at least
Get
2.
out of here.
I swear to God. That's how I roll.
So they have to end with the same amount of Super Bowl wins, or else one of them are going to hate the other for the rest of their lives.
Eli isn't like Peyton. Eli's just all like humdrum, hey, boss kind of guy, so he don't care. It's Peyton that cares. If Eli had less than Peyton, he'd be fine with it.
So Eli should retire to save his brother a lifetime of misery.
Oh, hell no. Screw that. If I was Eli, I'd go win more just to rub it in my brother's face. I'm just saying.
But yet, if you were Peyton, you'd never talk to him again.
Believe it, because I'm a competitor just like Manning is. Or Peyton, I guess I should say.
So why would Eli want his brother never to talk to him again? I'd rather just retire and have the 2 Super Bowls.
Screw that. I'm winning 3 and rubbing it in his face because I'm competitive,
and then never talking to him again.
That's right. Screw that dude. If he ain't talking to me because I got more Super Bowls, then block him.
You're ridiculous.
Please believe. Anything you got to comment on, fans, hit us up on Twitter at bet_the_spread. Hit me up on Twitter at betjimthewin. Keep checking out our Facebook page at facebook.com/betthespread. Keep coming back to YouTube and click and subscribe. Everybody loves a spread. Shout out to Johnny Parlay's new podcast, the Blue Rooster Podcast.
I was listening to it.
Check it out. Their
last episode. I liked it. The guy they had in there, Charlie Chestnut, is that his name?
I don't remember.
Seemed like a pretty smart dude.
They're on it.